Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Recovery is Effing Awesome, episode 4. Glad you guys are here. Coffee is brewed, gratitude is set, attitude is positive. Good morning, good morning. Today I want to talk about resentments, my favorite part of the book, or at least one of them. It's on the bottom, page 64, for those who want to follow along in the hymnal. It says, resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease. For we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. Can I get an amen? When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed the people, the places, the institutions, the principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. And in most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, and yes, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore, we were burned up. And it goes on to explain how we list those things, right? Who we're resentful at, the cause, and how it affected us. What the book doesn't say, and what my sponsor had suggested, is make another column and put down my part. Like, what was my part in that? So going back to the book, it says we went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. Now, the first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that some people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. And here's where it starts talking about me. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We have found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. As with us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for the alcoholics, these things are poison. We turn back to the list, for it held the key to our future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. Here we go. We began to see the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had the power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered. But how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was our course. We realized that people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, "This is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done." We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy any chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Now, that sounds really good, how I can, if I'm irritated at somebody, just pray for them. And that's good in theory, but if I'm being honest, I haven't got there yet. And one day maybe I will, but today ain't it. I've gotten a lot better. I don't hold resentments against people anymore. My resentment list was deep. And just about every resentment that I had or ever had, had emotion tied to it. And so when we have those emotions, they're, for me, a little bit harder to get rid of. It goes on to say that talks about fear. And fear I've heard described two different ways. One, face everything and recover. Or two, fuck everything and run. Ladies and gentlemen, today I ain't running. Fear, this short word, was somehow touches every aspect of our lives. It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. It set in motion trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. But did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Was it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was as good as far as that went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it fully didn't solve the fear problem, or any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse. Perhaps there is a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust an infinite God rather than our finite selves. We are in the world to play the role He assigns, just to the extent that we do not think. Just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us do. And humbly rely on Him does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. And again, when I speak of God, it's God as you understand Him. Your version or description of God may be different than mine. And you know what? That's awesome. We never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator. We can laugh at those who think spirituality is a way of weakness. Paradoxically, it is the way of strength. The verdict of the ages is that faith means courage. All men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let Him demonstrate through us what He can do. We ask Him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what He would have us be. At once, we commence to outgrow fear. So again, going back to the resentments, it's all fear-based, right? Scared to death of somebody's going to take something I got, or I'm not going to get something I want, or at least I'm not going to get something that I think I want. But here's the direction. Here's the solution right here in the book. Just like every other solution to life's issues are in this wonderful book. We asked Him to remove our fear. So we have to ask Him to remove it. Now, it's not one of these foxhole things like, oh God, please, take away this fear. Like when we were drinking, it's like, oh, if you get me out of this, Lord, I will never drink again. I promise. And when I said that, I meant it with all of my soul. And I swore I'd never do it again until I did it again. Usually the next day once the fog of the hangover cleared. So it says we asked Him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what He would have us be. Kind of goes back to this podcasting and now I started a YouTube channel. I was scared to death. Scared to death of doing this because I am vulnerable. As far as sharing with you guys how my life was, what happened and what it's like now, my experience, strength, and hope. And I asked somebody, why would anybody want to hear my story? Why would anybody want to hear me talk about sobriety? And this person looked at me dead in the eye and said, Robo, they probably need to hear it. And so, when I have that inner voice, not the crazy one, but the sane one, and it is drawing me or it is calling me to do something, I kind of pay attention to that, and that's why I started this podcast, and I do my daily reading every morning from a couple books, and meditation and stuff, and some of the stuff that I read, man, it hits me in that spot. And it's like, man, yeah, let's talk about that, and the resentments and fear that I was riddled with when I was drinking, and even when I quit drinking, they were still there. Alcohol is just a symptom of my issue, right? Because page 64, tells me that I am mentally and physically ill, but I am spiritually sick. So how do I fix my mental problem? Physical is easy. Eat right, drink lots of water, exercise, all that good stuff. Get enough sleep, stop, eating gallons of ice cream and 3 large pizzas at a time. Right, eat healthier, which is awesome. My wife's got me eating healthier, and it's lost some weight, which is really good, feeling good. But mentally, how do I get past that? Well, it tells me right there on page 64. Once the spiritual malady is just sickness. Once the spiritual sickness is overcome, then we straighten out mentally and physically. It's not been easy. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, especially if you're early in recovery. It takes work. It's a daily thing. You don't have to ever, say, well, I'm never drinking again, or I'm never doing drugs again. Man, it's just one day at a time. Just don't do it today. One day is easy to do. Maybe it has to be an hour at a time. Maybe it has to be a 15-minute block at a time. Whatever works for you, then do it. Because, if you can wake up in the morning and not have to roll over and take a drink or a drug to get out of bed, if you can make it through the day, put your head down at night, and you're still sober, brothers and sisters, that is a great day, not just a good day. For people like us, it's a great day. And like I said, I don't have bad days. I may have, crappy parts of days, as we all do, because, I'm human and life is life. But at the end of the day, if I'm sober and I haven't intentionally hurt anybody, that's a great day. And I go to bed with, gratitude, and I wake up in the morning with gratitude. This book is full of promises. If you do this, then this will happen. And I have found that to be true. If you're new in sobriety, whether you're, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, the first 164 pages of this book were the answers at. Not just to quit drinking, not just to quit, doing drugs, but to live. How do you live a comfortable life sober? And for me, that's the goal. I want serenity. I want peace of mind. I want to look in the mirror and be okay with me. I want to be in a room full of people and not feel alone. I want to, live life to the fullest, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm flipping burgers, I want to be the best burger flipper there is. If I'm digging ditches, I want to be the best, ditch digger. If I'm a CEO of a company, I want to be the best CEO. Whatever it is that you're doing, and it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter your economic situation, it doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter, your sexual orientation. Go be the best version of you today that you can be. And it took me a long time to actually realize that. It sounds really good, but, how do we do that? And once I figured out how to do that, I just keep repeating, doing that on a daily basis. Serenity and peace of mind is a direct result of me doing whatever I can to be the best version of me on a daily basis. And my goal every day is to be a better person than I was yesterday, whether it's a better person, better employee, better employer, better, husband, better son, better father, better friend, better whatever. I need to do whatever I can to be the best version of me today and be better than I was yesterday. And, and for me, that's the key. It says, we asked him to remove our fear and then direct our attention to what he would have us be. This book talks about trying to align our will with God's will, and my friend, Mike B says it best, do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. Or just do the next thing right. Then it says, at once. If we do this, at once, we commence to outgrow fear. Because if I'm helping somebody else in recovery, if I'm helping somebody else, period, then I get out of myself. I get out of my head, and that fear that gripped me and almost, to the point of, paralyzing me seems to lose its power. The book also says, nothing will, I'm going to paraphrase this part, nothing will so much give us immunity as taking that first drink as working with another alcoholic. Nothing will give me immunity from, taking that drug as working with another addict. And it's a really good feeling helping other people, whether it's, a neighbor who, is elderly and you go mow their yard because, it's 115 degrees outside and, they don't need to be out doing this stuff. Or it's talking to somebody else who's going through something, and you don't have to say anything. If you're just sitting there and listen, sometimes that's all people need. Give them a wave, give them a nod, give them a hello. You don't have to go into a whole dissertation, have a whole conversation with somebody. Just, a simple hello. Man, sometimes that just makes all the difference. And then the book goes on to talk about sex, and, I'm going to leave that. And it says we reviewed our fears thoroughly. What am I fearful of? Am I fearful of not getting this? Am I fearful of somebody taking, what I have? And I hate using that description, but, because I don't have anything. Everything I have, my house, my wife, my kid, they're a gift from God, in my opinion. Right? And, then there's jealousy. Right? These guys are looking at my wife. These guys think my wife's beautiful. Why? Because she is beautiful. Right? And I'm scared to death that, some young, well-built guy with a 8-pack who, drives a fancy car, has a lot of money, lives in a big fancy house, I guess, for lack of a better word, is a better man than me, is going to, my wife's going to see them and, leave me for that, right? Because she deserves better. And that drove me for years, and my friend Barry, because his wife's real pretty. And, I asked him, I'm like, how can you not get jealous for other guys looking at your wife, right? I mean, you're a dude. And he's like, he goes, the way I look at it is she's just a gift from God. She's not mine, but God has placed her with me. And I kind of look, and when I look at that logically, it's true, and then that fear of her leaving me, or the fear of, something happening to my kids, it seems to lose its power. And when it loses its power, then I have more serenity. I have more peace of mind, and on that note, I know that my wife loves me because she's married me twice. So, there we go. And then it says, going back to the book, we reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper. And it's funny that another friend of mine, Mike, has all his sponsees journal. And I think I touched on this in another podcast, but, journaling, as stupid as I used to think it was, it actually helps. And again, what's rolling around in my head, if I put it on paper, it loses its power. And when it loses its power, I can look at it logically and not emotionally, because I used to just run on emotion. And, running on emotion and not logic is very dangerous for me, because I will get so wrapped up in just mental masturbation on, the situation that I will make up in my head that is nowhere near being reality, but I will let that drive me. And then I turn into this asshole, for lack of a better word, right? I'm irritable, I'm discontent, I'm pissed off, nothing's ever good enough. And, the people around me, the people close to me are the ones, unfortunately, that I take it out on. I don't do that too much today. Every once in a while that stuff will, rear up and show up. And then, I kind of go sit quietly and, usually go out in the backyard and talk to myself. My neighbors probably think I'm nuts. But hey, that's why we're here, right? Because we're not all there. And then and the book says we asked ourselves why we had these fears. Was it because self-reliance failed us? Was it because, my will wasn't quite good enough to get the issue fixed? Self-reliance was as good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, which is true, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem, right? I can have all the confidence in my abilities, but without the help of a higher power, man, I'm just helpless, right? I'm helpless to deal with resentments. I'm helpless to deal with fear and anger, and then the grouchiness. I've been called grouchy, and if I'm being honest, I got resting bitch face. And even if I am completely serene and content, I look like I'm going to rip somebody's head off. And, somebody asked me one time, it's like, hey, what's going on? You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. He goes, oh, you're happy? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you might want to tell your face. Right? So it's how we present ourselves to the outside world, so to speak. Body language, facial expressions. So now I try to have a smile on my face all the time, not like one of those fakey cheerleader, I'm in the parade, parade wave smiles, but just a smile, right? Just like I'm content and I am happy and, life is good, right? Because, recovery is fucking awesome, and it is. And if you don't believe me, just ask me, because I'll tell you again. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. I cannot express my humility and my gratitude for you guys supporting everything that I do. Again, I have a YouTube channel, still working on that. Again, I'm technologically deficient. If you have any questions, any comments, any topics for further podcasts, you can. I'm on Facebook. Recovery is Effing Awesome Podcast. Twitter, Instagram. You can go to the website, recoveryiseffingawesome.podbean.com. You can shoot me an email, recoveryiseffingawesome@gmail.com, or leave a comment on YouTube. It's Recovery is Effing Awesome. I don't know how the algorithm works. I don't know if you type in recovery, sobriety, or whatever, if it'll pop up. Fortunately, I had a friend yesterday text me. It's like, hey, I typed on the link. It's not there. So I'm, working on getting around the algorithm that YouTube has. But we're out there trying to get this message out to as many people as I can. I'm also working on some T-shirts and coffee cups and hats with the logo, because, that'd be kind of cool, because why the hell not, right? Expand the brand of recovery, expand the brand of sobriety, and try to get the message out that recovery is awesome. So again, thank you guys for the support. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for the downloads. I appreciate it. It gives me hope that I'm actually doing something worthwhile. I appreciate the love, and the love is 100% returned in kind. You guys take it easy. I will see y'all down the road. I am Robo. I am out. Stay sober today, ladies and gentlemen, because recovery is fucking awesome.